here are my thoughts on Resident Evil 7. I really like it. Anyway, my thoughts aren't the most organized, so in terms of review, this is going to be a little all over the place. Yeah, my feelings change every day I think about it. But in a good way. I feel that my criticisms are minimal, and I have so many good things to think about and to say. So, just overall, I feel like the game is the love child of Bioshock and Silent Hill, and especially if you played the demo, it's very Silent Hill. I felt like, am I playing Resident Evil, or am I playing that new Silent Hill that got cancelled? Well, I'd be happy either way, to be perfectly honest. Saying it's like Silent Hill is not a bad thing. I guess it depends on which Silent Hill. But, regardless, I also feel that there are some sort of clock tower-y elements thrown in, little Clock Tower 3, particularly because the pursuers in Clock Tower 3, how they kind of heckle you while they're following you, and I feel like, yeah, that's kind of what happens in Resident Evil 7, namely Jack's character, because he's the one you're going to deal with the most, and just like he never dies, he just never shuts up. He always has something to say, just heckling. He's just a heckler, that Jack. But anyway, and in terms of the pursuer element, that's very classic Resident Evil. Very Resident Evil 2, very Resident Evil 3, but the way it's done in this game, it makes it more stealth-oriented. It's way more intense because, you know, in Resident Evil 3, there's that function where if you just defeat Nemesis when he attacks you, like, you don't have to worry about him until the next big, like, mini boss fight with him. But if you try to outrun him and just kind of like, no, you know what, I don't want to fight you right now, bye, he's just gonna keep following you. and that's exactly what this game does, is you're never safe. So that already right there, like, you know, we're taking away from the game, well, the series overall, because it's been moving toward being more action-oriented. So we're moving away from that now and back towards horror. And so maybe there's a little bit of that Dishonored feel to it, because you have to be real stealthy and, you know, do a lot of ducking around, you know, just a lot of skulking and conserving your ammo, your health items and whatnot, because, you know, they're going to be sparse. Because like I said, we're moving more toward the horror in Resident Evil, the classic Resident Evil. Now, what I've taken away from the experience is that this game is kind of trying to do what Resident Evil 4 did. You know, it's like, when in doubt, do what Resident Evil 4 did, because that was a really successful game. And 5, though it piggybacked off of the success of Resident Evil 4, wasn't as successful because it changed a lot of the things that made Resident Evil 4, like, practically perfect. Like the inventory system, for one. 5 changed it, and, you know, and the whole co-op thing, that was new, and it just, you know, so but it still was following the guidelines of this new reinvention for the series, this newer style of gameplay and action, but, you know, Resident Evil 7, it's like another little reinvention, but on a smaller scale, because it maintains, you know, that the classic feel, even a little bit of you know, Resident Evil 4, I would say. So if you're hot off of playing Resident Evil 6, then this game is here to comfort you and make you feel better. It manages to incorporate the classic Resident Evil-isms, but it includes more up-to-date gaming mechanics, because it's now completely in first person. And I feel like this is a compliment to the series, though, you know, it kind of just gives it the sameness, you know, all these other first-person titles, you know, it's all first-person, and I did have a few issues with the controls, but I feel like I'm the only one, because everybody seems to be praising the fluidity, and it's just gone over my head. But then again, I just suck at first-person games, so that's probably why. But unlike its classic counterparts, this is not a puzzle-oriented game. It definitely, like, it has the flourishes that go along with unlocking doors, but this is definitely a shortcoming. The lack of puzzles, the lack of traps. There's one in particular that, oh my gosh, it's classic. It's right out of the original Resident Evil. But there really aren't any stakes raised. It's like, well, I know what I gotta do, and then just do it. And, you know, there's no real consequence to trying to, you know, like, get the object. You can decide for yourself, but that's how I felt about it. And maybe you'll find a lot of these elements anticlimactic. Maybe you'll find the game overall anticlimactic. I found the final boss fight a little anticlimactic, though. Wow, I'm saying that a lot. But I don't really care so much about that, because overall, despite the fact that in any mode it might not seem too challenging, primarily the final boss fight, I feel like it's just right. Like, it's just right. You know, when you're eating spicy food, you know, you don't want the heat to be too intense, because then you can't enjoy the flavor. So that's the analogy I picked, and I'm sticking with it. But I would just sit down and play this every day if I could, and trust. If I want to play it again, that means that it has already like just surpassed any previous entry that I feel has been disappointments across the board for Resident Evil 6. Yeah, it's unbelievably spooky and atmospheric, which I love. But there are some downright moments that will just startle you. This is why I don't recommend VR. I will not be doing this in VR. So, congrats to you brave souls who are out there doing it, because I just know this game is insane. It's too much of a wild ride for that. Like, when people ask me, like, well, what do you think of it? I'm like, that's what it is. It's just a wild ride. Like, for crying out loud, your hand gets cut off at the beginning of the game. Like, not even like further, like later on towards the end of the game, just like right off the bat, just, and it's like, oh well, I'm gonna die. Oh wait, there's no game over. Like, keep moving. Okay, I'm nursing a stump, but the game is going on, so I guess it can't go on without me. But it's cool, because you get your hand back anyways. So, and I just want to say thank you, Resident Evil 7, for making Mia an Ada and not an Ashley. She's Mia. She's competent. She's interesting. I love how they deal with the portion of the game where she's like kind of getting her memory back. I was sad when the game shifted back to EVII. I just wanted to keep playing as Mia. And can I also say, I almost talked about this earlier, but I'm going to say it now. You know, lesson learned. The inventory system in Resident Evil 4 was like perfection, and then 5 was not so much, and then 6, I'm just envisioning like a flat line, just nothing. But playing with 7, it's like, and we're back. Back to amazing inventory system. And it's not like, you know, in Resident Evil 4 you find like the attachment cases, like you buy them from the merchant, but in this game, as you progress, you find these backpacks, and that's so cute. Like, I know I say it's cute, but no, it's smart. There we go. And also they brought back the inventory boxes, but there's actually like an achievement trophy thing for the just don't avoid using it when you can. I guess every time you open it, it keeps track of that, so you know, just figure out how not to use it so much. So that scale wise, well, it really does play like some kind of horror slasher flick. So it's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre, obviously, and there are chainsaws too, which is great. Of course, but you actually get to use one, so. But yeah, so creepy old houses, there's more than one, and you know, you have thunderstorms, you know, like it's all thundery, like in the distance, and it's nighttime, so it's very atmospheric, and you know, there's just that desolation, and just that, you know, you're stuck, and you know, this is the way it is, like, so you're just kind of, you know, on edge, and that's how survival horror should be, you know, and there's this consistent threat of this monstrously mutated family of crazies, the Bakers, just, you know, just around any corner, like, Jack could start chasing you, and it's just, ugh. So, yeah, just, and the music, ugh. The music is so perfectly atmospheric, and you know, from the variations on the theme, and even the save room theme, which in my opinion, I felt it kind of harkened back to Code Veronica for me, where I'm just like, oh, this is so relaxing. But then there's just that little bit of tension, just enough to where you're like, alright, let's, you know, we're not really safe here, let's keep going. And I feel like it truly suits the Bayou aspect of the game, which, that alone, just the music, the location, but also the imagery, because you have like Marguerite's character, who obviously, you know, is dabbling in something, because she's got her little altars, and she's got all these little dolls hanging everywhere, so that imagery, great, it's spooky, it's perfect. And another note about sound, not just the music, but, you know, as you're kind of like wandering through the house, you'll hear like creaks, but it's not because of you, you know, it's like there's no footsteps, but you're hearing like creaks, and the doors, you hear doors moving, like opening and shutting, but you're not even near a door, so it's just a sound enough to, like, you know, just to kind of startle you and put you where the game wants you, like back on edge, like, you know, like, what was that? So that's just brilliant, and I love it for doing that. I love that. So yes, very Resident Evil approved as far as sound goes. Speaking of doors, the doors themselves, they kind of did another classic Resident Evil-ism with theming the doors and theming the keys, and not too much though. You know, everything is just very subtle in this game. So yeah, but the design, like, it's so creepy and voodoo-y, and yeah, it doesn't hold back. The horror elements in this game have definitely been amped up compared to 5 and 6. Like I said, we're moving away from, you know, the heavy action and back into the survival horror, true survival horror. And I'm pleased with the game's reception so far. You know, not too many negatives. I was surprised by Game Informer's rating. I feel like they snubbed it a little. But maybe I can find like a second opinion review. Sometimes they do that. I think for me it's obvious. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 bats. And tell me your thoughts on the game, especially if you didn't like it, because the next time I play through it, I want to think a little more critically, and so maybe I can look for some of the things that you didn't like. Or if you loved it, please gush over it in the comments. I would love to know any thoughts that other people might have on Resident Evil 7. So, thanks for watching.